Hi, Tilty Carlson here. Today we're taking a trip back in time to 1957 and heading over to Sweden to look at one of the most classic films ever made by the legendary Ingmar Bergman. What I'm talking about today is The Seventh Seal, which has gotten a 4K release courtesy of the Criterion collection. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. There's our front cover featuring the late great Max von Sydow. Spine text. Back cover. Inside the case, we get a booklet. Criterion always includes pretty nice inserts with their works. Right there, we got a list of credits. Some nice images from the film. There's an essay by Gary Giddens. I don't know who he is, but this is a pretty nice essay. And then there's some info on the master as well, used for this release. We get a 4K ultra high def release of the film, and we get a remastered Blu-ray of the film as well. This also including the bulk of the bonus features. Underneath there you can see some of the landscapes and images from the film. Returning exhausted from the Crusades to find medieval Sweden gripped by the plague, a knight suddenly comes face to face with the hooded figure of death and challenges him to a game of chess. As the fateful game progresses and the knight and his squire encounter a gallery of outcasts from a society in despair, Ingmar Bergman mounts a profound inquiry into the nature of faith and the torment of mortality. One of the most influential films of its time, The Seventh Seal is a stunning allegory of man's search for meaning and a work of stark visual poetry. The name Ingmar Bergman might not immediately ring a bell with you. The title, The Seventh Seal, might not immediately ring a bell with you. But the image of a knight playing a life or death game of chess against the Grim Reaper, that might be a little more familiar. And part of the reason for that is that The Seventh Seal is one of the most parodied and most homaged films of all time, in particular that aspect of the movie. I mean, we've seen parodies of that dynamic in everything from Bill and Ted to Animaniacs. And there's certainly been a lot of things influenced by this concept over the years as well. The Seventh Seal is by far Ingmar Bergman's most well-known and most successful film, and it's not hard to see why. The film, of course, is set in medieval Europe, and Antonius Block, who's a knight very tired from his travels, has returned to the land after the Crusades, 10 years fighting a fruitless battle, and he's become distraught with life. And of course, it's not long before the figure of death appears before him. Along the ways, Antonius and his squire encounter a wide variety of characters, including a troupe of actors, a young woman believed to be in league with the devil, and a who's who of others, some friendly, some not so friendly. And of course, we see Europe just gripped in fear by the plague and all of the religious paranoia that came from that. I mean, dealing with an outbreak of an infectious disease, I mean, even hundreds of years after the story's set, that's still a relevant plot point. Max von Sydow, of course, plays Antonius Block. This was back when he was doing Swedish language films, but of course later in life he'd become an international star, perhaps best known for playing the part of Father Merrin in the 1973 horror film The Exorcist. Supporting cast is no less excellent, including Bengt Eckerott portraying Death. And the stark visuals and the shooting style of this film give it sort of a creepy, otherworldly, surreal look. Ingmar Bergman not only knew how to write a good film and cast a good film, he knew how to make a good film look and really pop off the screen. I mean, The Seventh Seal is in black and white in a 4:3 ratio, and it's still more visually stimulating and interesting than movies that have a ratio 2 times as wide and vivid color. The man was a genius of all aspects of cinema, and he never proved it anywhere better than he did with The Seventh Seal. Exactly what the meaning of this movie is certainly open to interpretation. I mean, is this Ingmar Bergman's criticism of the futility of religion? Is it the story of a man regaining his humanity when he thought he had none left? Is it a story of how paranoia drives people completely crazy when there's a pandemic or an outbreak in the world? Whatever your interpretation of The Seventh Seal may be, I guarantee you it's a movie that will stay with you long after you finish watching it. There's nothing else quite like it. The Seventh Seal was previously given a remastered Blu-ray release that appeared in the Ingmar Bergman Cinema box set. I'll probably be reviewing that box set at a later date on this channel because I got it during one of Barnes & Noble's Criterion sales. And this 4K disc is essentially that same master, but on a full-on 4K disc. There is no HDR on this release, which seems to be customary for a lot of the black and white Criterion titles, but it doesn't really matter because there's a pretty wide spectrum of lights and darks here. Even without HDR, it looks absolutely phenomenal. The detail at times is crystal clear, but it does retain that natural look of film grain without the unwanted digital tinkering and noise reduction that a lot of older movies tend to get. Criterion has certainly done right by this release of The Seventh Seal. And again, even the Blu-ray includes the remastered transfer here. The movie was actually released really early in the days of Blu-ray, but this is remastered from that initial release, which looked quite good in its time. And there is, of course, on the Blu-ray disc, a nice host of extras. We get an interview with Max von Sydow. We get a lot of Bergman interviews and documentaries. There's even a look at Ingmar Bergman's cinema with Woody Allen, which just goes to show how far the man's influence was. So I have to say, this is a very good release of a very good film. Certainly one that any fan of the cinema should see at least once. Even if you've never seen this movie, once again, I'm sure you've seen something that was either inspired by it or parodying it. This 4K release of The Seventh Seal from the Criterion Collection gets my absolute highest recommendation. How about you? What do you think of The Seventh Seal? Do you think it's the best role that Max von Sydow ever played? Do you think it's Ingmar Bergman's finest film? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Timothy Carlson. See you next time.